Can you dig it, sucker?
You're listening to the Hall of Fame. Here's Booker T and Brad Gilmore.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Hall of Fame, six-time world champ here with my man Brad Gilmore. They call him the boat, as well as special guest today, Adam Edge Copeland, formerly known as the rated R superstar. On his bio it says comedian, wrestler, actor. You know, I didn't know about the comedian side. You know what I mean? So we got,
They must be including my work with Christian, because he's the comedian.
well, on Wikipedia at one time they had me at 60. So you can't follow Wikipedia at all. But how you doing, man? How you feel right now as far as what we're going through and everything? Just talk to me a little bit.
You know, it's a strange time in the world, but I will say that we kind of set up our life without realizing it to be ready for a pandemic. And I didn't realize that until we got in the midst of this thing. You know, we live up in the mountains. We got a generator. We got a freezer full of beef. We got a gym. Our nanny is a preschool teacher. So our girls have been homeschooled the entire time without missing a beat. And we didn't plan all of that. But since this happened, we realized how well prepared we were. But man, it's just strange, you know, like everybody, you know, going through this thing and trying to adapt and trying to muddle through this thing, right? It's unprecedented. So it's on every level, on every job, like everyone is affected. We'll get through it, you know, and you have to focus on the positives because they're always going to be there. Sometimes you got to shovel a lot of crap out of the way to find them. And I think that's what this is.
Yeah, I feel the same way, man. I think if we just come together and, you know, do the small, it's just like in wrestling. The small things is what matter in wrestling. It's never the big high spots like these young guys think today. You know, it's always that small little bitty stuff, man. And I think if we can do the small things, we'll definitely get back on track. But man, you and I, man, we go back a long way, man, to the early 2000s when I first came into WWE, and you know we had that epic match, you know, in the Sky Dome, 70,000 man sold out. You know, I had to throw that in there, but I don't know, man. I always wondered about that because I remember when Bruce Pritchard first came to me with the angle. I don't know if he came to you the same way. So now I got you here. We can talk about it here for a second. Bruce Pritchard, he came to me and he said, "Hey, Book, you know, you're an Edge, you know, WrestleMania, you know, this could be huge. It could be huge. How about a hair match?" Now, look at my hair now. Okay, first
That
of
would
all.
have meant something.
Now, the first question from me to Bruce was, is Edge cutting his hair? So I just want to know, how did they come to you with this deal, man?
So they came to me, they said, you and Booker Mania. I was like, well, hell yeah, because that's I love working Booker, and to do it on that stage, you kidding me? My hometown, 12 years after being in the audience for WrestleMania 6.
Wow.
Yeah, because I know what you and I can do together. Then Brian Gewirtz said, yeah, but we're thinking of having it based around a shampoo endorsement. I went, well, hold up, what? You know, can we pump the brakes there? Because wait, what? We're going to be fighting over a Japanese shampoo commercial? I wasn't at a point where I felt like I could say, hell no. Can we just do a match where the best man's trying to win? So it became what it became. My kind of my favorite part was the fact that some guy is walking across going, they're fighting over shampoo with a big sign. As we're busting our ass, as we're lighting each other up. Lighting each other up to the point where one time Booker hit me and my toes felt electric. That's how hard we were lacing each other. It's like, wham, whoo, oh, my toes are on fire. Like, so I think we're trying to up the fact that we're fighting over shampoo.
No, man, it was a great time, man. It was an epic time. The best part was you wanted to do the spinneroonie for me. You know what I mean? You worked on that thing all day.
I tried.
You had strawberries all over your body.
Man, I had a strawberry on my face from trying the edgeroonie. Are you kidding? It was horrible. It was
oh my God, man.
Possibly the worst spinneroonie ever. And I decided might as well do it at WrestleMania.
At least it's memorable.
Oh man, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It seems like we've had so many moments in the business, man. The business has been so good to me, and to kick it off for my career in WWE with you, man. Big ups for my career, man. And then there again, being in Canada in your hometown, for me, man, it was icing on the cake, and I just want to thank you for that. But let's move on a little bit, man. It seems, kind of like yourself, kind of like me. I started thinking about the end game of professional wrestling when I was 30 years old. I was 30, and I sat next to Wahoo McDaniel at one of the Great American Bash pay-per-views, and he had trouble putting his boots on, and I was like, wow, and he was like my hero, and I was like, man, I got to figure out how am I gonna get out of this and walk away from this and still be able to, have some quality of life after, be able to, throw the football with my kid, be able to, have a daddy-daughter dance, you know what I mean, whatnot, be able to walk her down the aisle opposed to, being in a wheelchair. I planned for that, and it seemed like, since early 2000s, you've been planting that seed for what's next for Edge. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I always told myself my drop dead with wrestling was 40. I wanted to be done by the time I was 40. Well, then, I got told at 37, no, you're done. And I had to be satisfied with that because I wasn't given a choice. They said, that's it, you're done. You will never be cleared again. You are medically disqualified. Now, in one respect, it made it easier because it took the decision out of my hands. I didn't have to go, oh man, my body might not be quite up to stuff, but my mind is firing on 12 cylinders like a Jaguar, So it took that out of the equation. But the thing that always stuck with me is that it wasn't my choice. I did want to get to 40, and I did want to see some of that through. And I was at a point in my career book, and you can appreciate this, I really wanted to help some new talent. I wanted to teach them. And the only way I can truly teach them is if I get in there with them.
That's true.
So near the end, I was able to. I got in with Dolph, and I got in with, Drew, and I got in with Del Rio. And I was starting to be able to show these guys, because the only way, you can tell everybody till you're blue in the face in the back. But until you're in there and talking them through stuff and say, wait, listen to what they're doing. Hold on, pump the brakes here. Okay, let's take it here. Let's take it here. Let's clip that out. You can't do that in the back, man. The only way to do it is in there. So, as I was feeling good, I got my second neck surgery after I retired, and I started acting. And, I never had a stunt double. And I'm doing all these fight scenes and some pretty physical stuff, and I'm feeling pretty good. And I'm like, okay, my neck's not bothering me at all. Then, Sheamus came up, and he has his workout show, and he wants to do something different that he doesn't normally do, right? So I took him mountain biking. That big old white bastard, he doesn't get on mountain bikes. So I got him up there, and he's slugging away, and I took a pretty gnarly wipeout. And it was basically, I took an arm drag at about 20 miles an hour. And I rolled right up to my feet. I thought, I'm fine. How is this the case? So then I started seeing doctors. And I said, what do I need to know for everyday life? What do I need to know to ex-nay on sets to be able to tell them for fight scenes and all these things? Then my last question was, what about wrestling? And then, so I saw one doctor who said, I don't know the industry. I don't know the ins and outs and all of those things. So then I started making my own appointments. I went down to Birmingham on my own to meet with Andrews and Dugas and all of those guys who know our industry, who are part of the WWE team. And they were like, do you want us to report this? And I was like, nope, this is just Adam Cole to see where I am at. And so I drove down in my pickup truck, and I went down there. I met with them, and they said, no, we'd clear you. Book for 9 years.
Wow.
I thought it was off the books, off the table. And the work I put in, the second surgery, and on a limited basis, I can do this. Well, man, now it's a gift being thrown in my lap. And now I can see that last 3 years through. And now there's a whole influx of new talent that is exciting for me, man. To look at and go, ooh, I can get in with Reigns and I can dial him in.
Oh man, yeah.
You know, and
he's one of the best. He's one of the best in the business right now too.
He is. But man, if I can get in there with him in promos, if I can, and that to me, I'm salivating.
yeah.
With all that being said, I knew I needed to start with a guy like Randy because I needed to see where I was at. And Randy, man, I mean, you know, that's the guy I got to start with. Not only will I know he'll step up because I think he was just bored for the last few years. So I know if he gets this cherry of a story thrown in his lap, he's going to bite in. And I know I'm going to get tested, but also be safe. And
definitely.
That was huge. That was huge just to see where I'm at. And then, you know, I tore my triceps.
Yeah. One thing about Randy is, like you say, he's always been a student of the game. It's ironic, you know, I come into WWE and, you know, my first pay-per-view is with you. And then you come back after all these years, you're having this angle with Randy Orton. And I remember having Randy Orton in one of his first matches in WWE. And just like you just said, Randy came up to me probably about 3 o'clock and said, "Hey, Book, what are we going to do?" You know, and I go, man, I don't know, man. Come catch me around 4:30. And he came around 4:30 and I said, "Hey, man, let me get a Red Bull in me, and then I'll talk to you a little bit."
Red Bull.
Yeah, then he came to me about 6 o'clock, show getting ready to start here in another hour, and he said, "Book, what are we going to do?" I said, "Man, my head is just not clicking. Let me get one more Red Bull in me, and I'll get with you in a few minutes." And I lost myself, and we found each other at Gorilla getting ready to go out, and he go, "Book, what are we going to do, man?" And I go, "We'll just call it in the ring." Yeah. And we went out and we worked. We came back through the curtain, and we met down at the bottom of the steps, and Randy came to me and he goes, "Book, is it that easy?" And I told him it should be that easy every night. And so he definitely, for me, getting my hands on him, and then, you know, you even wanting to further that and seeing that, and then seeing a guy like Roman that you want to be able to enhance. For me, that's what I saw. I saw something, a great tool, and I said, "Man, let's see if I can get this tool to work for me." You know, and he went out there and did such an awesome job his first night out there with me. But let's talk about that for a second, man. The tricep tear, coming back, you know, this late in the game, getting the tricep tear. Me personally, I got a little story about me in Canada there again. You know, me being up in age, I guess I was about 46, 47. And it was after I had pretty much retired. But I came back doing a little angle. And the only thing I did, it was in a promo, was point. And I tore my tricep off the bone. Okay. Okay.
All the stuff we do to ourselves. And pointing.
That's how I tore it off the bone. But I contribute that to being, you know, later on up in age. As far as yours, how did it happen, and what did it feel like? And is it something that you knew immediately, this is something that's not right?
You know, it was one of the, so we're going through the match, and contrary to reports, we did it once straight through, like 48 minutes or whatever it was. And in coming back, I wanted to kind of recalibrate my style a little bit and really make it more of a Bret Hart kind of feel to my matches. A lot less high spots, more grappling, more wrestling, more fighting for things, selling, the little things like we talked about, right? So we're doing this match and we're having a blast, and, you know, we got a cue at one point. I think it was like 35 minutes, and I was like, "Whoa, all right.
I'm okay.
Man, I'm feeling great. This is awesome."
Yeah.
I did a springboard into the second RKO, and I went, "Ooh, okay, I got the cold sweats and I feel like I'm going to throw up." That's usually a sign.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, that's where it popped. And I thought, okay, well, I think I got a little bit more in the tank to finish this out. and then we got it finished. We tried to do a couple pickup shots to see how those would feel, just maybe try and add a different element to the match. And I didn't like them, but we were just trying something different. Got to the back, I was like, I think something happened to my tricep. I don't think it's complete, but it feels like something.
It's not right.
And they felt around. They said, well, we think it might be complete. Now, by the time I got the surgery, the surgeon said, you probably went in with it partially torn because the tissue was already very diseased. And my elbow had been bugging me for probably about a month, but it would only bug me when I did chest or triceps. So I just thought,
that's actually a sign.
It is. And here's what I learned going forward. I need to listen to those signs.
Yeah.
I didn't listen. I just thought, I got chips in my elbows. That's all. Yeah.
Wrestling mentality.
Wrestler mentality, right? What I am happy is that with it going into it partially torn, that I made it a good, 45 minutes through the match before it finally went, so that I could still, was able to finish it out. And because if that had started, 2 minutes in, it would have been hard to pull off for the rest of the match. It would have.
That's the question, man. That's the question. And people always talk about me as far as, man, but why are you saying this? Why are you saying that? And, because I'm just a realist. As far as, man, is this something you still, want to pursue and finish it?
I do, because I want to finish it on my terms. I'm really stubborn on that in this run, I guess. And I really want to, with this, try and show that selling still sells. Because I feel like that's been lost. And don't get me wrong, I'm guilty too. Because you can watch the TLC matches and you can watch it and say, but, and I get it. And I was young and I was there and I did it. But I was always told by the Steve Austins, by the Takers of the world, hey man, if you just slowed down and you tried this and that and this and that. When I started doing that, that's when I started making real money. And I see stuff and I'm like, man, everybody is so athletic, so gifted, doing stuff that I couldn't even fathom, right? I just want to try and show that if you did a quarter of that with all of those little things in between, now you're painting masterpieces that will be able to be around for a while, because you'll have longevity this way. And a guy like Randy, the way he works, man, he figured it out early.
Definitely.
And that's why he's still been there. Sure, there's been some shoulder surgeries and things like that, but he is still plugging away at 40 years old. And I still think of him as the kid, but he's 40 now. And he's still able to do his thing at the highest level. Because to me right now, nobody's touching him.
Definitely. I appreciate you, man, for coming back and wanting to be one of those, what I call carpenters. I say we lost so many carpenters over the years. I always say, man, can you imagine if Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, was here helping train some of these young guys and the knowledge that they would get and go into their brain? It would be.
I was in there with Perfect. I was in there with you. I was in there with Owen Hart. I was in there with Hacksaw. I was in there with Sergeant Slaughter. I was in there with Terry Funk. I was in there with Lawler. I was in there with Hulk Hogan, with Ric Flair, with Shawn Michaels, with Undertaker, with Eddie. If I can, in any way, translate what I was able to glean from those guys, then that's what I want to do. I don't want to come back and just phone it in and do 4 finishes in 5 minutes. I want to come back and try and do a 45-minute match. Now, what I need to do is just listen to my body and prepare it maybe a little bit.
The only luck you're ever going to have, preparation, brother. Hey, man, like I say, for me, I thought about getting out, at 40 as well. And I started thinking about, the broadcasting thing for me. People say, man, your voice, man, you can make some money with your voice. And I was like, man, let me figure out how to do this. Then my partner here, we got a radio show on an AM channel, and we did it for 2 years for free. And then next thing you know, the ball got rolling. And then next thing you know, we got this whole little media thing going on now, working with ESPN, going to Vegas, covering the fights and whatnot. So I thought about parlaying, my wrestling success into, what I'm doing right now. And like I said, it seemed like you started thinking about that early 2000 Highlander, latest 2016 on even further Viking. And now you got a new movie out, The Money Plane. And it seemed like I say, man, you've been preparing yourself for this moment for many, many years. And it seemed like there is no glass ceiling or anything for Edge. It seemed like whatever I want to do, I'm going to push myself to do it, and hopefully I'll land on my feet. Talk to me a little bit about that, as well as the movie you got coming out July 10th.
Well, it was a new challenge, and it was a challenge that, again, when I was forced to retire, all I ever wanted to be was a wrestler, man. That was it. There was no other game in town for me. I didn't, set out to be an actor. I didn't set out to do anything else. It was wrestling, and that was it. When that was ended, I had to pretty quickly recalibrate and figure out, okay, now what do we do? And not fully grasping. And yeah, you want to still make some money, right? And now I'm kids now, right? So I didn't realize what great training wrestling was for acting. Now there's changes. Don't get me wrong. You got to bring it in, and you got to make it smaller, and you're not translating it to a football stadium of people. The camera's right here. It can see your damn nose hairs. So you got to pull that performance in.
Definitely.
That's a huge challenge. And I just get off on challenges. I want to bite into those things. So when I started acting, and then I realized I loved it because it was a creative outlet still. And that's what wrestling always was to me, was that creative outlet. You can tell stories, you can design your gear, you can do all of those things. So acting was an extension of that. And as I realized I enjoyed it, then I started really picking apart movies and performances the way I used to do wrestling matches, and trying to find the layers, and why did this actor make this choice, and how did that make me feel, and why did it make me feel that way? So now I started studying, and then it became so much fun. And then it coincided with my roles getting bigger. And then by the time it was all said and done, I looked, and I'd done 100 episodes of television between Haven and Flash and Vikings. And then with Vikings, it was a period piece, and it's drama, and it's accents, and it's all of these things. But that's another reason I got so excited about coming back to wrestling, because I felt like I was coming back with a whole new tool belt that I didn't have before. And then in looking at the pandemic and being able to cut promos in this environment, I started tapping into the acting that I'd picked up on. And then I look at my last project. So I had found out I got cleared to come back, and then I got an offer to star in Money Plane opposite Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah.
No brainer.
How do you turn that down? Yeah.
You don't, right? And so the story is, growing up, my mom and I, the first show that her and I really watched together was Cheers. And then we watched Frasier. And her favorite actor, bar none, nobody came close, was Kelsey Grammer.
Oh, wow.
Loved Kelsey Grammer. And, she passed away a year before I got the clearance and everything, before this movie fell in my lap. Mm-hmm. And when I'd take her down for a chemo, and she would say, as she's sitting there through 6 hours of chemo, she goes, "I just want to go home and watch Frasier." I was like, "Right, got it. Watch Frasier, Ma." And then a year later, I get cleared to come back, and a movie gets offered to me without an audition to star opposite Kelsey Grammer.
Wow.
Come on.
That's something, that's some weird, magic working right there. That's magic, so yeah.
And then I sit down opposite him, and you don't, it's kind of like when I first worked opposite Ric Flair, or when you sit across from that guy, and immediately you're just like, holy crap. And that's
Ric Flair.
Yeah. And so now I'm sitting there opposite Kelsey, and we're in a pool, sitting beside a pool in Hollywood, and he just starts talking. And I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
And he's dropping F-bombs and all this stuff. And I'm just like, what's happening right now? And he's super cool. And I was able to tell him that story about my mom. And it was really, really special. And then in reading the script, it's just a fun action movie, man. It's just, especially now, If you can just forget for an hour and 20 minutes and go, right, I don't have to think, I can just have fun watching this action flick. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I had a blast doing it. And I got to act opposite a guy like Kelsey and Thomas Jane. And again, I'm always picking guys' brains, just like I used to do with wrestling, right? Now I'm picking Kelsey Grammer's brain, and I'm picking Thomas Jane's brain, and I'm always shadowing the director to see why they made this choice and what's the lighting and what angle are we going to use here. And that's stuff that I all brought back to me for wrestling. So they're both feeding each other right now, which is a really fun thing.
Awesome. I know Brad probably got a lot of questions about the movie, and he said and watched it and critiqued it, I'm sure, with a fine-tooth comb. So go ahead, Brad.
Well, man, first off, it was a real fun watch. Like you said, it was nice just to get away for a fun action movie that has it's got that Italian job, some Ocean's 11 kind of vibe, like a nice heist action movie. I wanted to ask more so, and you hinted at it a minute ago when you were talking about peeling back layers when you're watching other actors, but how much did it help you knowing the psychology of wrestling when trying to break down the psychology of your character? Because as a wrestler, I know when you go in there, you're thinking of the story that you're going to tell from your character's perspective. How much did that skill in the ring help you for this role and all your other ones?
What I've found is that with any character, whether it be Jack Reese in this movie or whether it's Edge, I have to find one element of truth that Adam can relate to. And if I can find that within the character, that's my true north. That's my compass. And I always keep that as my thread throughout any scene, throughout any action, reaction, throughout any inflection, all of those things. It's finding that element of Adam in there that I can truly relate to. And then that drives everything. And that's what I've found can help me keep the character true to the nature of what I see it as anyway. And I've brought that to now when I look at Edge, or, when I looked at this character, Jack Reese, he's doing it for his family. That I can bite into, because I would do anything for my family. We all would. But, the character in this movie has a daughter, and, okay, he's got to protect. And you would go up onto this money plane with all of these horrible criminals to try and pull off this heist, so that you can get away from all of it with your wife and your daughter and try to live happily ever after, because that's all anybody wants to do. That's what Adam wants to do. So, with Vikings, it was the same thing. There's this Viking who wants to be a good man, but his pregnant daughter gets murdered. Well, guess what? Now everything's off the rails. and that's the reason for every murder that he, takes part in. It's because that happened to his family. And if I can find those things within a script or a character, then I feel confident in being able to pull it off.
How important was, having a script like this where it has so many subliminal messages for, one person to have to just be able to think, because I remember my mother, she taught me, she said, Junior, right from wrong. There's no gray area in between right and wrong. And it's a lot of subliminal messages in this movie, all the way up to the end, that gives that. So how important was that, actually, to play that role?
Well, I think that is kind of the interesting aspect, because there is going to be some gray stuff with a lot of these characters. So you have to go, okay, he's doing some stuff that might not fly with his code, but he's going for that end result, and realize that sometimes you gotta dip into some bad parts of yourself to be able to get to that good place, that kind of altruistic place, right? Yeah. So, and that seems to be, a recurring theme with a lot of my characters, that they're good guys, but they might have to do some bad things. And I think we've all been faced with some of those things. And we all have that gut compass that lets us know, that didn't feel right. But sometimes you just gotta chomp through those things to get to the end result, so that hopefully you can do more good and put more good in the world.
Yeah, that's true, man. People know about my story and me going and stealing all the marijuana just to get on my feet. Sometimes you got to do
What
small bad things to do great good things sometime in life.
Hey, and you gotta fall flat in your face sometimes, and you gotta go, okay, well, I've got to pick myself, dust myself off, and set my shoulders and keep walking.
Yeah. Hey man, how can people find the movie, man? How can all your fans find the movie in all the platforms, whatnot?
It's Apple TV. It's all of that stuff. I think.
I know it should be. I just acted in the damn thing.
Brad got all that information.
Yeah, we'll put it out there for everybody.
We'll make sure we plug it. But it's going to be coming out July 10th. Money Plane, starring Edge.
And it's a great cast. It's a great cast too. I mean, really Edge, Kelsey Grammer, Denise Richards, the Lawrence brothers are all in it. I mean, it's a real fun watch too.
Definitely.
It is. Thomas Jane, man, that was another dude that I was really excited to work opposite, and he brings a really cool, fun, character to the movie too. It was fun to do, man. It was a good experience.
Definitely. Well, definitely, I checked it out. I thought it was a good watch, and I'll definitely promote it for you as much as I possibly can. But more importantly, I just want to thank you for stepping inside the Hall of Fame for a minute, man, and just giving us a little bit of your time. But you ain't doing nothing up there in the mountains. But again, I appreciate it.
I'm just sitting here, man. I could sit here for 2 hours.
We appreciate it, brother.
Love ya.
Love you, man.
Thanks, Ed.
See you guys.
It's a roast. Get over it. Book's got a lot of friends. Me and Sean happen to be the only two white guys, but he's got a lot of friends. The other ones were afraid to show up. And but it's okay because we have a couple of them on video right now, and I'm going to throw up to a gentleman, the lead man for the rock band Fozzy. You know him as Y2J, the Ayatollah of rock and rolla, Chris Jericho. And right after that, we're going to hear from another Hall of Famer you might know. And even though he is a OU supporter, Kim. Jim Ross will follow. So let's go and listen to Chris Jericho and Jim Ross.
You know, I'm really pissed at the mail because I know that the damn post office lost my invitation to the roast, because it's certainly been easy for me to get down to Houston, one of my favorite cities in the whole world, to honor one of my favorite people in the whole world, Booker T. Huffman. Can't tell you how proud I am of the man that Booker has become, and how he continues to reinvent himself and to become even a better father, a better husband, and a better professional. So, Book, I really wish I was there. I'm kidding. I'm doing something else tonight on my own event in Nashville as we speak. But I really am proud of what you're accomplishing and all the things you do. You're picking it up where Paul Bosch left off back in the day, walking in those same shoes and those same boots. And I really regret not being able to see you, and say hello to Charmel and the babies and all those yahoos you got to the audience there. Watch Pendergrass. Watch the Wild, that's all I can tell you. But I am very proud of you. Really am proud of you, seriously. And on that note, I want to say that, you know, Book, I never walk into a Wendy's when I don't think about you. Have a great night.
All right, I'm here in Vienna, Austria, to say a few words with my good friend Booker T. And let's just start with that name, Booker T. Booker. Really? Really? Just because your name is Booker doesn't mean you should be a Booker. I've seen reality of wrestling. And T, what does T stand for anyways? Does it stand for tiny? I've spoken to Charmel. Or does it stand for toilet? Because you're the shits. I mean, honestly, the shits. Think about your wrestling career, and all of the accomplishments that you had are boiled down to two things. getting your ass kicked in the produce section of the grocery store, and the spinneroonie, which you didn't even name. I did. Although when you do it now, you're so old, they call it the has-been-a-rooney. Has-been-a-rooney. Get it? Anyone? Is this thing on? And what about that hairstyle, that Jar Jar Binks hair? What are you, Millie or Vanilli? I mean, you look like a transgender Whoopi Goldberg. Yeah. But in all serious, Booker, all jokes aside, I really don't like you. You dig?
So right now, please, to roast Mr. Booker T, Bubba Ray.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Bubba Ray Dudley, and we are here to roast our friend, Booker T. Booker, I really wish I could have been there tonight. I know Devon wishes that he could have been there tonight, and we miss you, brother. And thank you very much for even allowing me to submit this video, because tonight's about you, tonight's about roasting you, tonight's about making fun of you, and everybody having a good laugh at your expense. Now, Book, we've been all around the world together, WWE, TNA, independent shows, you name it, we've done it. And there are so many great stories that I'd love to tell. But Charmel is here tonight, so it's probably not a good idea to tell any of them. I'm just kidding. Booker's a great guy. Like I said, Book, wish you could have been there. And it's a huge night for you. You got Sports Radio 610 hosting the event. You got all your friends and family there. You got a lot of fans there. You got your brother, Stevie Ray. Booker T and Stevie Ray, Harlem Heat. The second greatest tag team of all time in the same place tonight. You know, Book, we've talked about this for years, and I think fans all over the world would love to see just once Harlem Heat versus the Dudley Boys. So, yes, consider that a challenge. Let's make it happen down in your territory in Texas. Love you. Wish you could have been there. Thank you for having me, Book. And I think the last thing that I could possibly say is shucky ducky quack quack.
Rob, I also come from the world of pro wrestling. I spent a lot of time working in pro wrestling, and of course, every pro wrestling fan knows Princess Bride because of Andre the Giant.
Right.
How was it to work with Andre?
Oh, he was great. I mean, the guy was, the classic gentle giant. I mean, he really was that. I mean, he was the sweetest man, and he was so smart. I mean, really smart guy. He told us stories about when in this town that he was from in France, that he used to go to school, Samuel Beckett would walk him to school. I mean, so these are the kind of influences he had. But he was an amazing guy, and one story, he also could drink pretty good. He was,
Yes.
He liked to drink once in a while. And one day he comes to work, and I said, Andre, what'd you do last night? He says, I went to the bar, had a couple of drinks. I said, well, what do you drink? He says, I had about 6 bottles of wine, 3 bottles of cognac. I said, Jesus. I said, you must have been drunk. He said, no, I don't get drunk. A little tipsy, but not drunk. So he was a great guy, though. Really sweet guy.
I mean, yeah, that's what everybody says. The drinking stories are legendary, where he would just throw back 100 beers in one sitting and be able to walk out with no problem. What an anomaly of a human being. And did you find his – because he wasn't a trained actor by any sense of the imagination, but he did come from the world of entertainment, from the pro wrestling aspect. Did you find that working with him on set in the scripted format, did he take to that well, or did it take a little extra direction?
He did eventually. I was nervous about going with him because he had never acted before, and when he came in and did the audition, I had him read a scene, and I couldn't really understand what he was saying. He was perfect for the part, but it was like impossible. And I said, Andre, this is going to be like a 15-week thing. You're going to be around. And he thought that he had to do 3 pages for 15 weeks. I said, no. You're throughout the whole script. This is just one scene. You're in the whole movie. He says, I do it, boss. And I went, oh, no, I don't know if I could do it. So what I did is I taped his entire performance. I put it on a cassette, and I sent it to him, and he listened to it over and over and over again. By the time he got to the set, he had it down. He had it nailed, and he was so good, because I thought, I'm going to have to loop everything. I'm going to have to replace his dialogue, But he was I didn't have to change a line, and he was perfect.
Can you dig it, sucker? I'm serious. Nah, I was looking at I was reading an article. It was a quote from Shelton Benjamin, and he was saying Brock, character on television right now is the Brock that's around the boys, around his friends all the time. And the thing is, I can attest to that. I tell the story about when we were snowing in Connecticut, and man, we. Hanging out, getting a few drinks, you know what I mean? We can't go anywhere, so we just hanging out in the bar. And we had this bartender, man. I don't know what her problem was, but she hated all of us. I mean, we could not get, nowhere with her. We was like, just keep the bar open for another hour. You're going to make some money. She's like, bar is closing in 10 minutes. We're like, good God, what's going on here? Brock Lesnar rolled in. He's smiling. He's having fun. He goes to talk to the bartender. I don't know what he said to her, but the bar was open for the rest of the damn night. We was like, what the hell's going on? He's having fun. He was just like, wow, man, but he is that type of dude, man. And for that character to actually come out on screen is actually pretty cool. I like it because it takes nothing away from the beast incarnate when he goes out and take care of his business inside the ring. That's what I've talked about forever. Brock is improving my point right now very well. Can you dig it, sucker? Can you dig it, sucker?
You are listening to the Hall of Fame. Here's Booker T and Brad Gilmore.